Everybody give it up for The Last of Us for completing their season 1, and let's discuss upon further details based on what I said on my first part
and discuss what lies in the future.
On the last episode of Thus, I talked about how The Last of Us viewership had risen with each episode, and it seems like that pattern has continued. So I'll slap up the numbers somewhere while I blabber. We last left off on episode 5 with Kathleen's getting obliterated, and another thing I mentioned was, when are they gonna shove in that damn at university? Well, we immediately got that in the next episode. The dam came first, and we catch a beautiful glimpse of that baddie at the start of episode 6, which was the episode we reunite with Tommy. Ellie found out Joel had a daughter. He struggles on whether or not he should continue with delivering Ellie to the Firefly Hospital. They have a little spat, and he ultimately decides to continue with her. And we also got the university. It wasn't in the springtime like the game, but it was there. My previous concerns were flattened, and then Joel got stabbed. Episode 7 is Left Behind, which is the episode where we get to see how Ellie got infected in that huge abandoned mall, accompanied by her friend Riley. I have a little beef with this episode, so I'll talk about it after the recap. 8 welcomes us David and his cult of unaware cannibals, and Joel is still recovering from limbo, but eventually Ellie brings him some medicine, and then, you know, Ellie gets captured. Naturally. Joel's voice actor Troy Baker is in this episode, and that's pretty great. He also had an awesome death with that cleaver to the neck. While Ellie is escaping imprisonment, Joel is going absolute ram on the cult members that are hunting him down. What an invincible guy. Ellie stabs the matter out of David, escapes, and then Joel and Ellie hug. So, you know what? Actually, let me complain about episode 7. I promise it won't take long. Left Behind was additional content for The Last of Us game, which released in June of 2013. Left Behind came out 8 months later in February 2014. I personally feel that this episode took away from the storytelling that they were giving us, and that the second half of the show felt maybe a little rushed. The show would not have been hurt if this episode slot was used to tell more of the mainline narrative. It even had a decent runtime compared to the last episode, which had the shortest runtime. The shortest! A prime example of how we could still get this episode is to do what Euphoria did. There was quite a gap between their 2 seasons, so to throw a bone of sorts, they created 2 special episodes that don't interfere too much with the main story. Which, case in point, Left Behind. I can't get over this. Make the additional content additional story. Don't include it in part of the story. I said it wouldn't take long, but maybe that was longer than I hoped for. In episode 9, we see Ellie's mom portrayed by Ashley Johnson. I am so glad that they decided to include both actors in this show, because they've been with the game for so long. They've been a part of the journey and they know everything about it. So it's nice that they're worthy of being considered as a cameo or even a sort of homage. But yes, Ellie's mom is bitten after giving birth to Ellie. The umbilical cord is still attached, and so Ellie's fetus gets some cordyceps juicy juice on her. Marlene executes her mom without a goodbye. With the recap, intro, and theme, the episode finally begins at about 13.5 minutes, which leaves 32 minutes to tell the ending of the goddamn story. They're making their way to the hospital. Ellie's so freaking depressed and not talking, up until the point where she finds a giraffe. And a real one at that. A friend of mine actually wanted there to be a giraffe scene in the show, and I was thinking to myself, yo, there's no way they're actually gonna do that. Look how wrong. Eventually they leave the giraffe, they're bonding, they're having a blast, and then poof, concussion grenade. Joel wakes up in some random room, and Marlene appears from the shadows to tell him that Ellie is being prepped for surgery, and that they think that the cordyceps in her body thinks that she herself is cordyceps. He realizes that they're gonna cut into her brain and that they're gonna kill her. They're gonna kill her, damn it! Ah! Some Firefly nerds proceed to escort him to the highway, and then he starts going full on Rambo again. And I'm all for John Wicking everybody you see, right? But damn, he enters the operating room and just headshots the main surgeon. Now, while writing this script up, I know that death was not that violent. It was not that crazy. I'm gonna play a little clip here of the actual in-game death, and I'll react through text while editing.
No!
Oh, future me, I wonder how accurate you are. So the head surgeon gets whacked. He lets the other two doctors live. He picks up Ellie and just skedaddles on his merry way. Joel heads to the parking garage, right? And again, Marlene appears from the shadows and she tries to stop him from escaping. She wants Joel to consider what Ellie would have wanted, which I saw a comment that if Marlene really wanted what Ellie wanted, she would have asked Ellie from the beginning. So, good point, man, good point. But yo, homeboy does not care. He shoots Marlene. He kills her. Damn it. They drive off. Ellie wakes up. Joel lies to her and says that they've been raided and that there are more immune just like her. And Ellie gets depressed. Our duo arrives to a nice view of Tommy's expansive home. But before they proceed, Ellie asks Joel if everything that he said about the Fireflies was true. Not only does she ask him if it was true, but she makes him promise that it was true. And as you know, men are horrible and men are pigs. So he just straight up lied to her and the episode ends. And I just have to say, god damn, the show did an amazing job bringing a dark past to Joel, and a violent one at that. I haven't played the full game in years, and by this point, I feel like I have to revisit it. I owe it that. The Last of Us started great, don't get me wrong, but for the second half, I feel like we just needed more. It felt rushed because of the inclusion of Left Behind, and the final episode was the shortest. Would it have benefited being stretched into another season? Maybe, but the better decision would have been to just create more episodes. These shows on streaming services have a fetish for creating shorter than aired on TV show seasons. You've got shows like Supernatural, The Flash, and Grey's Anatomy that are almost an hour long, like The Last of Us, but are able to stretch their season to almost double what we've got. I don't hate The Last of Us, but it seems to have ended up with me wanting more of the narrative fleshed out. What we got is awesome, and I'll recommend the world to watch it. Just believe me. In terms of season 2, they actually want to do a season 3, which is pretty damn great, provided that they do cover the time gap between the first and second game, which is 5.5 years. Can't really criticize what'll happen there for going off source material because, well, there is none. I guess season 3 is where they would cover the bulk of the second game, but let me just say, wow, that is a lot of ground to cover. We would need so much more time to, audiences would need more time to familiarize and empathize, if you know what I mean. Some of you know what I mean. If the end of season 2 can interlace with the second game, where the plot is stretched between both seasons, that would be perfect, because we would not want a repeat of feeling rushed. The Last of Us Part 2 flip-flop between storylines, so I'm curious as to how they would integrate that for the series format. And because, well, I'm sure audiences wouldn't want 3 episodes with Ellie, for example, and then 3 episodes with an entirely new cast. Maybe it would feel like a different show to them. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for watching up to this point. If you like the way I presented this video, consider supporting my channel
by subscribing.
Doing YouTube outro stuff is so annoying. I would though greatly appreciate it, as my past few videos have been performing better than average actually. That's it for my Blabberfest, and remember, love what you like. I don't know at what part in the video I'll show this, but I just want to say rest in peace to Lance Reddick. I know him from the John Wick series, and he was the voice of Zavala in Destiny. I got the news while I was driving a few minutes ago actually, and I don't know, it's just sudden, as with all deaths are. So rest in peace, and my condolences go to his family.